I need to discuss something serious with you. Mr. Turner, the president of the second generation, called me and I went to his office. My contract had expired, so it was most likely related to that. We're done here because your contract is up. Please gather your belongings and don't get in touch with me ever again. Mr. Turner simply grinned as he presented me with the contract, even though there were a lot of things we needed to talk about, like the company's systems. After he was elected president, I signed the contract, which was extended until the end of the year, but I didn't read the entire thing because it looked almost identical to the ones that came before it. I was surprised to see that the severance pay clause was no longer included in the contract. I'm Lucas, and I work as a software engineer right now. I'm not going to argue about it, but the fact that Mr. Turner was abandoning everything the previous president stood for was something I couldn't stand. Someone like you is worthless, so pay attention. When your contract expires, there will be no severance. Goodbye. I was raised by my single mother after my parents divorced when I was in middle school. My father had been in charge of all the money, so when he left, he took everything with him. Despite the fact that life was difficult after the divorce, my mother put forth a lot of effort to help me, and I was able to complete middle school. Oh, I see. Are you Lucas? I am aware of you. Let us work together effectively. Yes, sir. I was the only person in the organization without a college degree, but I gradually learned the skills and information needed to be an engineer under the supervision of my senior, Mark. Because you are a beginner, you should look for a job instead of continuing your education. There are a few things to remember, such as writing efficient code. Despite the fact that we had the same goal, we started from very different places. I was never trusted with important jobs because of my status, and my lack of a college degree was a major barrier, even though my skills were evaluated. Even though they had advised me to strive for full-time employment, it was difficult to continue. I believe in you, and even though I know it's difficult to gain the company's trust, I'll keep pushing. Despite the fact that I had been producing good work at the company, I was still hindered in many ways by the fact that I didn't have a degree. Mark was the only one who truly looked out for me, despite this, and he even introduced me to a salesman named Timothy. As my engineering skills improved, I was finally assigned to a small project, with the goal of eventually becoming the project manager for a large project after gaining more experience. I was grateful for that, and I'm grateful for today. Timothy, on the other hand, began to like me, and we became close enough that he occasionally took me out for drinks. I appreciate it. I was taken aback by Timothy's broad smile when he said, "I'm becoming self-sufficient. I'm launching my own business. However, it's still a long way off. You're going independent." Yes, I didn't want to. That's amazing. I'm impressed and startled at the same time because I've never considered becoming independent. Timothy was thinking about the business that had helped him, not just about himself. That may be expected of any professional, but his success was likely largely due to his careful handling of everything and his avoidance of causing controversy. Timothy then went into greater detail about his intentions, which were to start an internet retail company using the... We had a great time at our large celebration that evening, but after hearing Timothy's experience, I realized that I couldn't balance running a side business with the work I'm now responsible for, and it wouldn't be considerate to the company. After speaking with Mark and my bosses, I made the decision to leave the company at the end of the month. Despite the fact that it was a risky move and I lacked a clear plan, I felt prepared to give it my all. A year later, Timothy extended an offer to collaborate with me, but I was put in a difficult situation. In the future, I hope to start my own software development business, expand my portfolio, and work freelance. Although Timothy responded enthusiastically, I knew it was probably not the response he was looking for. He was truly pleased for me, even if he undoubtedly thought I would enthusiastically accept his offer to work for his company. Well, I suppose I should simply assign the assignment to a subcontractor from your organization. Isn't it a software development company? You must construct. Despite my company's lack of experience, Timothy trusted me to build a web application for an e-commerce company from the ground up, and I was determined to do everything in my power to meet his expectations. We maintained our relationship after that, and I worked on teaching his engineering team and developing and maintaining systems. Despite my desire to focus solely on my own business, my friendship with Timothy kept me employed there as an outside contractor. When I took control, I was abruptly summoned and informed of this. I was able to survive without the work from Timothy's company by this point because my own business had grown significantly. I wouldn't mind returning to my own business full-time, but I was surprised by how abrupt the conversation was. Since becoming vice president, he has made it plain that he is only concerned about people's academic qualifications, but I wasn't sure if this was a cost-cutting measure or if he simply disliked me. He judged each employee's performance at work exclusively on the basis of their educational background. Is this due to the fact that I did not graduate from college? Oh, you're correct. Even if you only graduated from high school, you should be able to understand this much, right? I let out a sigh to confirm my suspicions. This organization hires people from various educational backgrounds. Some have only completed high school, but others have attended vocational schools or lower-level institutions. Some had even completed middle school. Timothy has always made recruiting judgments without regard for an applicant's degree of schooling. In today's society, you may teach yourself a variety of talents. Mr. Turner valued higher education and was unaware that a person's value is not determined by their college degree, probably because of his own academic accomplishments, but I couldn't help but sigh again. Are you firing me now? No, I'm not really that cold. I'll extend your contract till the end of the year. All right. Don't forget to find another employment after that. Was this how he showed kindness? Nevertheless, I had invested 30 years in this business. The company was considerably larger than mine because Timothy always prioritized its expansion. But I had managed my own business and supported the corporation. It may sound conceited, but I had given Timothy my time and experience in return for all that he had done for me. And now Mr. Turner was severing me instantly without knowing any of that. Realizing that complaining would not change anything, I sighed deeply and resolved to give it my all till the conclusion of my contract. But hey, why don't you go clean the bathroom or something? What? Cleaning the bathroom? You mean that's basically all you can do as a useless person? Get to work. The president has given you the command. Not only did Mr. Turner harass me, but he harassed every employee who was going to be fired. In addition to being constantly lectured, we were made to perform duties that were outside the purview of our jobs, such as, I could have resigned right away, but I didn't want to upset the other employees or the company, so I kept working on the tasks assigned to me. Thank you for your assistance today, and please contact me if you have any further questions. My last day came and went, but I worked until the end of the year. Hey, I need to speak with you. Please take a moment to come here. Timothy had promised me severance pay equal to that of a regular employee, and the contract should have made that clear. We couldn't just say goodbye, so we had to talk about the system and severance. I wasn't making an unreasonable request, and Timothy gave me the money even though I didn't need it. Despite the fact that I had signed the same contract every time, he assured me, if you're truly receiving severance, show me where it says that. I looked for the provision in the contract I got from him, quickly turning to the last page because it had usually been written at the very end. Severance money, however, was not mentioned. I also looked through the other pages, but I couldn't find anything. I even opened the copy that was stored on my phone as a PDF. The president and I had extended it until the end of the year, and I hadn't gone over every line because it appeared to be almost the same as the earlier contracts. I never thought the severance clause would have been eliminated. What is the meaning of this? You believe that for someone like you, we would squander money on severance. You would have figured that out by now if you were intelligent. I had to struggle to control my emotions as anger erupted from the pit of my stomach. I gathered my bells and returned to my work, knowing that I would not be able to ignore this. I had never expected him to be so self-centered, but it made it clear to me that he was the type of president he was. Shouting like that? Where are your manners? You shut off every system we use, that's what's going on. Even though I hadn't heard him yell like that before, I wasn't surprised. Despite knowing what was coming, I did not anticipate him to contact me so soon. I certainly did. You didn't extend my contract. What? Agreement? Wow. Do you know nothing? You are also the president, as I mentioned. I couldn't help but smile. Mr. Turner's attitude led him to yell at me even more. Do you comprehend what I'm doing? I don't know what you're talking about. Why would you have the power to turn off the system if you were always tampering with it? No one else was aware of this. How is this possible? Mr. Turner had absolutely no idea what I had been doing for the company. When he replaced Timothy, he must have learned everything, but he either ignored or forgot it. He was panicked since the company's system had failed. The compromised systems included accounting software and employee management apps. At the end of each month, we receive a large number of bills from our numerous remote employees. This was going to go very badly. Say something. As the CEO of the company that designed the system, I am willing to renegotiate the contract. We may even change from the previous usage fee model to a buyback strategy. You must, of course, begin by apologizing on your knees. What? I said it clearly. Be advised that there may be penalties for this. I had previously told the accounting and management departments, but if Timothy found out, my reputation would suffer. I was absolutely within my rights to limit access to the system and not renew the contract, but I couldn't help but wonder whether Timothy would be disappointed in me. That thought stayed. Nonetheless, I couldn't ignore Mr. Turner's actions. You've overreached yourselves. I'll be there shortly, so get to the office. Later that afternoon, I went to the company since I did not want to leave. The system will be unavailable indefinitely. Hey, I've been anticipating your arrival. Let's go to the president's office. I was shocked to see Timothy in the lobby, waiting for me. I had my justifications, but I had no idea what Timothy was thinking or how much he knew. As we walked to the president's office, neither of us spoke. Excuse me. After knocking, Timothy went into the president's office, where Mr. Turner was standing sternly and commandingly. I'm very sorry. I really apologize. I've known Timothy for 40 years and I've never seen him this enraged. Mr. Turner was desperate to stop Timothy from bowing his head, and it was clear that he thought Timothy would support him and be upset with me, but the truth was completely different. Timothy, please lift your head. You, quit behaving that way. You ought to apologize with him. What kind of nonsense are you spewing? Mr. Turner turned to me and bowed his head, clearly depressed. What is it? First of all, I'm sorry about the contract. Mr. Turner muttered that he was sorry for. You are not a typical worker. You have harmed this business. How are you going to make things right? Mr. Turner had turned white, and Timothy had him straight in his sights. He was probably looking for an appropriate response, but he couldn't think of anything that made sense. He had always been self-centered, using force to destroy everything he didn't like. It seemed unthinkable that someone like him could be as sincere as Timothy hoped. A new agreement may be reached. The usage fee will be more than it was previously, and I will assure that it is. That is not what I'm talking about. Mr. Turner's face contorted in terror as Timothy's voice resonated around the president's office. It was obvious that he had planted a landmine, and he discovered his mistake too late. Timothy was outraged. Let us be clear. If you do not recognize the gravity of your deeds, you will be rejected. I will not let you run this business any longer. What? Surely you must be kidding. Then Mr. Turner stumbled. Do you believe that jokes are appropriate at this time? Timothy fired back. Your mind must be in the clouds if you truly believe that. I heard you despise those who have completed high school. Timothy's scathing remarks left Mr. Turner completely stunned, even though he wasn't prepared. Mr. Turner begged, I can't be fired like this. I admit that what I did was a big mistake. But you understand, don't you? You cannot be pardoned for your actions, and I will not pardon you, accept responsibility, and leave the organization. Weep openly and bow before Timothy. Will you not forgive me? Do you believe that sobbing and pleading for forgiveness will solve everything? Act like a man and accept responsibility for your actions. Timothy refused to budge despite Mr. Turner's repeated apologies and entries. Timothy then walked me to a nearby meeting room and out of the president's office. With a mournful voice, Timothy remarked, I share some of the blame for this because I appointed him president. I never imagined he'd become this way. I sincerely apologize. I never held Timothy liable for anything because he expressed sorrow to me before we entered the president's office. Timothy did not have to apologize, but it was his way of being real. Timothy, you don't have to apologize. It is not your fault. You don't realize how much you've helped me. This business would not exist as it does now without you. It was wrong to treat someone like you, who was an important member of the team, with such disrespect. Timothy's eyes flooded with tears as he expressed his gratitude. We can utilize our technology for less than 1/10 of the usual cost because you built it for a fraction of the market price. You dedicated your time to educate our engineering team as the company grew. Even our recently started programming lessons benefited from your assistance. This business thrived for 30 years as a result of your efforts. You were always there for me, even whether the firm was struggling or I was dealing with personal issues. Your presence is. Why have we gotten to this point? I sincerely appreciated as he talked. Timothy held my hand tightly and met my eyes. I was likewise moved to tears when I saw him in that condition. Timothy owes me so much. You introduced me to consumers and demonstrated how to run a business. I owe you as much. I doubt I'll ever be able to repay you for all you've done for me. Hearing that makes everything I've done feel worthwhile, Timothy said with a smile. I genuinely appreciate it, and once more, I apologize for all that happened. Could we continue working together even though I know I'm not in a position to ask? Timothy seemed sorry, but I had my response ready. Obviously, I'm delighted to work with you again. We renewed our partnership with a solid handshake. Mr. Turner eventually lost his position and was evicted from the organization. Because Timothy's business was large, word of Mr. Turner quickly spread both within and outside the industry. It appears that he was unable to secure a job. He lives alone in obscurity after losing his job and being abandoned by his family. He had squandered the most of his earnings over the years, and his ex-wife had taken the little money he had left over as child maintenance. He was clearly living a dreadful existence, but it was a fitting end for someone who had caused so much pain. For my part, I've been concentrating on running my own business while maintaining my strong friendship with Timothy. Now he's back in his. Timothy, as president, is devoted to coaching the company's future CEO. He told me, I'm taking my time to develop some great talent that we brought and are interested in the president position. That's fantastic. I'd like to learn more from you. I've also been pondering the idea that it may soon be time to pass over my business to someone else. When the time comes, I'll have to learn such talents from you. One of the most important things in my life was meeting Timothy. Naturally, I can't claim that life has always been simple. There have been difficulties, obstacles, and times when I felt emotionally trapped. But each time I looked at Timothy, I thought, I want to work as hard as he does.